Okay, so bonus segment, because I actually want to get into this as just predictions, because predictions are fun. Tell me who your college football playoff foursome is today.
Today, it would be Clemson at number 1, obviously. And then I would take Alabama at number 2 as the SEC champion. I would take Oklahoma at 3. Obviously, the Big 12 title contender. And then I would put Georgia in at 4. I don't know how they're going to weigh these games, right? I really don't know how the American factors into these other SEC, Big 12, ACC schedules. But I mean, for me, like, you have a real opportunity if you're Georgia or like a North Carolina or a Florida. If you slip up once, you may just be all right because you lost so many other variables in this race. Add to the fact you got the name brand and star power to sneak into that conversation. That would be my 4 right now. Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Georgia, probably in that order.
Man, I sincerely hope we don't overvalue the SEC in an odd year, because that would be horrific to me. That said, the SEC champ gets in. Cool, got that, right? Even with a loss, that the champ gets in. The only way that a Big 12 champion gets in for me this year is if they run the table. I don't think you can suffer a loss, even in a regular season. I think that if a Memphis or a Southern Methodist or a Central Florida or Cincinnati ran the table in the American, that opens the door for shutting out the Big 12, right? Because you got an undefeated conference champ, you got a one-loss conference champ. Let's not pretend that we played similar schedules this year. Just take the team that didn't lose. And then talk about the ACC, right? It's Clemson's league until otherwise. So today, I got Alabama, Clemson. It's hard for me to pick Oklahoma in the college football playoff because that means I got to pick them to go undefeated. And they haven't been able to do that in, 20 years. They haven't been able to get through October undefeated since like 2010, 2008, somewhere in there. So, I got a hard time picking Oklahoma there. But I can't pick SMU either. So, yeah, that's what it is. Like I've got to expect SMU to run the table more than I expect Oklahoma to run the table, and I don't. So I guess I'm going to go with Oklahoma there. And then I just don't want to see a 4th SEC team, right? I don't. I just don't want to see it. So to hell with it. Let's go with Central Florida. Let's just decide.
Wow.
Let's go with that, right? Because I like the opportunity for Central Florida to not just win 2 national championships in 4 years, but have an opportunity to, for once and for all, to stick it to everybody and say, remember, you guys didn't want to give us our due when we ran the table and we beat the second best SEC team in the country like they stole something, and you still didn't want to hand us our trophy? Cool. Now we're in your little tournament. Now we're in your little semifinal. Now watch us run over Clemson, Alabama, and who would tell them that they didn't win a national championship that year? So yeah, give me UCF playing a 12-game schedule, getting into the playoff, off a conference championship, going 15-0 in a year in which Oklahoma, Clemson, Alabama don't get to even play 15 games. That is a Cinderella storybook finish for me.
That was awesome. I didn't expect that at all, so I have to tip my cap to you. And if it happens, I mean, I'll probably buy a dinner or something because I'm with you. I mean, seeing another SEC team, especially if it's like Alabama, Georgia again, it's just not that fun. Obviously, everyone out there loves it, but if we're ever going to see a group of 5 team in the college football playoff, now is the time, right? I mean, with all these other P5s gone, I feel like the college football playoff committee really needs to say, okay, if we're going to take a chance, we really have to buckle our seatbelts and just go along with this ride and see where it ends up. I mean, if you're ever going to validate putting in a UCF or an SMU or any number of other squads over an Ohio State or what have you, you just have to pull the trigger in the now and then utilize this bullet point as further validation moving forward. Now, that being said, if I may, I'd like to utilize this as an easy transition to let you provide further analysis to one of your other takes.
Okay.
We went through that entire Big 12 schedule, right? But we never really touched on Oklahoma's. And with you saying OU does not get in, as opposed to like a UCF, I'd like to know, what do you see in this OU schedule that's now finalized? Where do you possibly see the road bump? And maybe what are the thoughts as like an overall record? Do they win the Big 12 title this year? Because obviously Missouri State in the bye week, but then KSU, ISU, that OU Texas game, another bye, so on and so forth. It's interesting to me, and I'd like to break it down with you starting to explain why you leave the Sooners out of the college football playoff picture.
Because I have data to show that they can't make it through October undefeated. Whether it's Kansas State or Texas, it's bound to happen. Like, I'm done getting my hopes up that they're going to do that, because once they get to November, one of the things they love to say is championship November, championship November. Yeah, because you got one loss and your back's against the wall. You can't afford to lose anymore. And they're able to pull it together in that way, even against a Texas Christian team that looked like it was going to get them, or a Baylor team that had them down 28-3, right? They found a way. But I look at Texas Christian, and I know that game gives everybody the willies every single year. I can go back to, I think it's 2012, when Jason Verrett was putting the shackles on people, and we're talking about 20-17 being the game in Norman. So that Texas Christian, I'm afraid of. Texas, I'm afraid of. They're more talented than Oklahoma this year. I mean, that's based on the 247 Sports composite talent evaluation. They're just that much more talented. And while Spencer Rattler might be more talented, he's yet to show us, right? We got to see it. I mean, it's past time. And then you don't have Theo Howard, we think. You don't have Jaden Hazelwood, we think. So it's going to be Weiss and it's going to be Rambo. And then you're going to have to hope that Austin Stogner continues where he left off last year. And then who the hell's the left tackle? Is it Eric Swinson? Is it Stacey Wilkins? Is it Bray Walker? We don't know. And now we're asking LaRon Stokes and Jalen Redmond to carry the middle. Now, Jalen Redmond and opting out still on the table. My man has blood clots. It's a real issue. You do not want to play with this virus. And then after Delarian Turner-Yell goes down, you get exposed at strong safety. They have no depth there. We'll see if Justin Harrington can help. We'll see if Bryson Washington can help. There's just so much that I don't know and can't count on. So if you ask me which games, Iowa State, Texas Christian, Texas, right? And then on the back end, get to November 11th, cross your fingers, hope to die, all that stuff. Still got Chuba Hubbard you got to contend with. And by the way, give Spencer Sanders the ball, put Tyler Wallace on the field, and then run back that 2019 Bedlam game. Do you still think it's as lopsided as it was? I don't.
No way.
Right. And now you've got Braylon Johnson emerging at Oklahoma State, right? You get Dylan Stoner back. You have Landon Wolf there. Everybody is closing the gap on Oklahoma because they've had no choice, right? They're tired of watching Lincoln Riley hold up his entire left hand and it's got a ring on each finger. I can't tell you that the bottom is going to fall out because, I've been expecting the bottom to fall out of Alabama for years, especially in recruiting. And they go from being ranked 55th in April to number 2, literally, in August. So, I just don't have faith in them to do that, man. I mean, that's what it is. I look at the schedule, and if you're really looking at the schedule X's to O's, the only real toss-up you have is Texas. But we know that just ain't the way that it's been. Oklahoma has done this great thing where it beats down the teams that it should beat down, and then every once in a while you get Kansas State. And tell me something, Colin. How the hell does Kansas State 2019 drop 48 on Oklahoma? What about that squad says we should drop 48 points on Oklahoma? They looked up at the scoreboard and said, we did that? Wow. And in a game where Oklahoma scored 41. I need to know what's it going to be because I just don't trust them. If they get through October, come see me. Come see me. Because even in this shortened season, I still think there are 4 teams in there that could give them problems. And last year, I might have said the same thing. Kansas State wasn't one of them. Right? Everybody circled the Baylor game. Right? It's okay, we got past Texas. Let's get to Baylor. And then you get the brakes beat off you by a first-year head coach who's got somebody that he couldn't even land at North Dakota State playing quarterback. Think about that. Who had Skyler? Who wanted that dude?
Oh, man.
You asked me. You asked me, and I had to go there.
No, you delivered. I mean, that was the ultimate answer to my question. And I would take it from this perspective, because I agree with you to the point that there are some eyebrow raisers here. I think that more than any other years in years past, or any other year, or maybe in the future, if the Big 12 is going to decide to actually provide a little bit of parity when it comes to who's winning the conference year in and year out, now is the time. This is the opportunity for these other teams to get that jump on Oklahoma before Spencer Rattler gets his feet underneath him, becomes probably the talent we all think he is, and then goes on a run before a one Caleb Williams takes over after being redshirted and probably does pretty well in his own right. Like, now is the time, if you are Texas, Iowa State, TCU, Oklahoma State for sure, to make that move and jump to the top of the Big 12. Now, that being said, I'm looking at Iowa State in week 2 of the conference schedule as a very big deal, because if you'll remember correctly, that last trip to Ames was a little bit of a scare. It was a little nerve-wracking for the Sooners, but Marquise Brown went absolutely bananas. And if I remember correctly as well, Parnell Motley, he had like 2 picks in that game. And
Hakeem,
they were not facing Brock Purdy. Okay? And then when Brock Purdy got him in Norman, it was another scare. Right? So I'm looking at Brock Purdy with the home field advantage now with another year under his belt, saying, okay, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous about OU's chances. Then obviously TCU on the road. I don't have to dive into that one too much. But Texas, Iowa State, TCU, I like the fact that they get them all kind of in that bunch with the bye week, because Oklahoma State at home is a big deal. You get West Virginia and Baylor to end it. And outside of that, man, it's just kind of a year where I really do believe that Oklahoma is going to be able to make a solid run. Now, it's that 4-week stretch with Iowa State, Texas, and TCU, 2 being road games, 1 being the neutral, and obviously having the bye, that will decide, in my opinion, Oklahoma's season as a whole and determine whether or not they're in the college football playoff.
I'm going to just piggyback on one thing you said with the Iowa State deal, which is that they had Hakeem Butler absolutely sunning people, and there has not been a not close Iowa State game with Oklahoma in some time now, since going back to 2017 when they got the W in Norman. And you're right, Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than anybody that they've ever had. It's going to be interesting. Man, we'll have to get to Caleb Williams at another time. This has been great. This is Colin Kennedy. Follow him on Twitter at ckennedy247. That is ckennedy247. Does excellent work over ouinsider.com. It's my colleague, staff writer there. He's staying up on who's getting offers, who's committing. Colin's Corner is an excellent post that our VIP subscribers get to read. Check him out. I have deleted my Twitter account. Colin, thanks so much, man.
Always fun, man. Let's do it again soon.
Right on.